Hello, Kenneth Tyler from Slow BI here with a control chart example. People are always talking about how everyone is submerged in a flood of data these days. I actually think that's not exactly the case. Data looks like a flood when you can't separate out the significant data, the data that you need to examine more deeply, from the normal flow of data. So I've done an example here based on the ever-present Contoso Microsoft sample database using the CRADEC control chart. These are XMR charts. And the XMR chart looks at the data and finds out what the normal limits of variation are. The normal limits are represented by the top dotted line and the bottom dotted line. We have here a slicer with all of the Contoso stores, so we're looking at the year 2008 for the Nice store. I once worked with a client for a company that had 11 stores in 4 cities, and each store submitted its summary of sales at the end of every month. And he said, if the sales did not go up, you got called in on the carpet and had to explain yourself to the managing board. The problem is that all data varies over time, like sales in stores. You can imagine the poor manager of the Nice store, whose data is always within the normal bounds of variation, who in this month, and this month was feeling really great because his sales were going up. He probably got called in and congratulated. But in the 8th month, his sales go down. It's a disaster. Everybody wants to know, what did you do wrong? Actually, none of those responses is appropriate. His sales are just varying in a pattern that he really can't control. Now, if we look down below, we see the sales not for a single store, but for all the stores, the average sales. And we see, if we think about all the stores, that the first 3 months of the year were exceptionally low. Something was going on, and the rest of the year fell within normal boundaries. Perhaps the interesting thing about the Nice store is, why weren't the sales in the Nice store low the first 3 months of the year? Let's look at another store. Okay, for the Novigrad store, we find out that for months 4, 5, 6, and 7, the sales were exceptionally high, exceptionally in the sense that they stayed high, stayed in the top part of this band for more than 3 months in a row. And here, for 11 and 12, they stayed in the lower part of this band. This was different than what all the stores experienced on the average. And this would be the thing that you might ask and say, in that store, is there some cause? Is there something going on? Was there an advertising campaign? Did foot traffic somehow increase? Or here, what happened in November and December? Is there anything we can find in other data we have about what was going on in that store? We'll look at one more store here, the Norfolk store, and we find the Norfolk store, like the average for the stores, started out low, in their case even lower. Below, these red boxes indicate months that were below the lower range limit. But in months 7, 8, and 9, they did much better than the store's average. Month 7 actually went above the expected normal upper limit. So again, the question for the manager of that store would be to look at your other data, the other things you know about what was going on in your business, and try and find what the special cause was for these 3 months being high like that. Because when the sales stay within bounds, there isn't really a special cause you can find. There are too many things that might cause them to vary. Looking at the data like this, using an XMR control, and the CRADA control is really great and really easy to use, using an XMR graphic lets you sort out your data. In Contoso, there are hundreds of stores. And look through it and see the stores where there are patterns that are sending you a signal, and where it might be profitable to go build reports and dig deeper in for that store and try and find out what's causing this unusual variation. Thank you.